Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. Today's video is going to be another tournament game from mine, but I think it does a pretty good job at explaining how to deal with Mustangs. Now I know that whenever you're starting out, Mustangs are difficult to deal with. The unit does basically a little bit of everything, so it's easy to put on the board, and then when it scales out of control, I mean, I just said it, right? It does everything. But there are ways to deal with them, but it just means that you need to have a good setup. So this is what that game shows. Now, I decided to set up here with Fortified Specialist, Sledgehammers, and Void Eyes. My main plan going into it was, hey, maybe I can play some standard Void Eye, which I know sounds spicy enough, but I was just, willing to try some stuff out. Whether or not we actually get to do that, we'll have to see. Opponent here is Doxon, strong 501 player. Again, this was part of the EU Mini tournament from this week. And he is an Amplify Specialist, starting with Mustangs and Crawlers. Now, up against that, I really need some more chaff clear. Normally, Sledgehammers can be okay if, let's say, you're up against double Crawler. You can get away with it. Triple Crawler even sometimes, but that starts to get difficult for the Sledgehammers. And so, instead of going to go for Crawlers here, I'm going to prioritize going Arclights. Because I don't just have to kill the Crawlers, I have to kill the Mustangs too. So, add 2 and 2 together, and yeah, it just means that I need some more solid chaff gear. And that's kind of the main way that you will counter Mustang. If your opponent goes for them early, you will want to try and set up Arclights and range them as quick as possible. If you've seen some of my coaching videos, as a rule of thumb, I usually recommend that people range their chaff clear by round 4 if possible. When you're up against mass chaff boards like this, with not just Crawlers and Fangs, but maybe smaller units like Mustangs too, you may even want to try and get that on round 3. Anyway, this is going to be our setup. Double Arclights in front of the towers. Sledgehammers here. Actually going to be wrongly positioned. I have played this before, and I labbed it so that the Sledgehammer should be 1 square further up, 3 squares from the Void Eyes, because now they could get missiled. And I think they might even be able to hit the Sledge, the Arc, and the Void Eye. So yeah, when I found this out, I wasn't too happy about it, but it's something that we will be able to fix eventually with a front chaff unit. Now you can see here, we're doing all right. Arclights are doing a good job. They will go down to the Void Eyes, but it also means that we managed to clear enough chaff and my Void Eyes can go to work. Opponent does have a slight advantage, I guess, with those small amplifying cores. On the Mustangs, it sadly immediately creates a breakpoint against Arclights, so I'm not able to one-shot them, but that's all right. With the range, you might be able to get away with it. And here, Smart Arclight shows up, and it's a pretty fast pick for me because, well, I want to build more Arclights anyway, so that seems like a smart choice. If it doesn't show up, no worries. You will still be able to build Arclights anyway. The intensive there would be fine as well. But yeah, Arclight cards here would be nice. Something like Subsidized Arclight would be a very good card early on as well. And yeah, we're going to pick up another Arclight, and we're going to go double Crawler. So triple deployment on round 3. I do need to work on my chaff. And that's where the second part of countering Mustangs comes into play. Crawlers are going to be your best friend. Especially Subterranean Blitz is a very powerful anti-Mustang tech. Mustangs aren't really meant to deal with Crawlers. They're good against Fang. They're good against Loose Formation Crawler because, they become more squishy. They're not very good against normal Crawlers, especially with Subterranean, especially with double defense enhancement. So that's typically going to be the game plan going into these games if you see heavy Mustang investment. For now, opponent just levels the Mustang, takes the small amplifying core. I think that he took the intensive to achieve this. But yeah, still, we're doing fine. Arclights are farming. Middle one even managing to pick up a level there. I don't know how my left one did. Died pretty fast. And right one is close to leveling up, but don't think it will manage to get there in time. Still though, I'm happy with this. Very good round. And we're getting ahead early, which is going to definitely be a boon for this game. Still, both of us very healthy. I mean, we started with 2 5k plus health packs, which is somewhat uncommon, I would say. Usually it's maybe one player that has that, but we both went for a high health pack. Round number 3, and here are the unit reinforcements. Now, immediately I knew my opponent was going to pick Raiden, because if you look at the board, it's Sledgehammers, Void Eyes, and Arclights. Now, for me, Raiden is just strictly worse. It's only like okay into the Void Eyes, and then that's about it. Crawlers, Mustangs, I don't want to be shooting at that. Fire Badger loses against Raiden. Typhoon loses against Raiden and is also really bad in standard. Sabertooth is fine, but it doesn't really help, right? I know the Raiden's going to show up, so I somehow need to build something here. So I'm going to decide to pick up the Fire Badger because it's worth the same as the Saber, right? Both are worth 400, but Fire Badger is a special unit, so it's nice to at least have that available if I need it in the future. And we're going to sell it immediately. I'm basically saying nothing here is useful for me, and I know that the Raiden's going to show up because it's just that good into my board. I need to react to it. The money will be well spent, and that way we can unlock and buy double Farseer. There they are. I think Farseer is a fine pick, especially in long-range games these days. They've got 125 base, they've got the range enhancement, and with burst mode, they can basically scale to the point where interception is no longer possible. So we can buy triple deployment, double Farseer, and a crawler up front to try and fix my starting mistake because I really don't want to get missiled here. Luckily, it doesn't go for it, but I'm happy that at least, you know, I'm starting to fix this. And, well, as we can see, I was correct about the Raiden. I mean, you know, it just makes way too much sense into my board, so it's not even a guess at this point. It was like close to 100% certainty that he would pick it. But yeah, that is looking much better. You can see the Raiden is putting in a lot of work on the left side. Farseer doing what it can up against the Void Eyes, which do now have the energy absorption. I didn't want to click it yet because I was thinking, still, maybe I could range them. Although with the Raiden showing up, I wasn't too certain. Farseer should be able to clean up here. Took the tower, now we'll kill the Raiden, and I'm very happy with that round. I think it was a relatively tricky one, where we sadly just have 0 uses for the unit drops, and so we decide to just sell. Round number 4, Orbital Javelin shows up. I think this spell is super, super good. It's relatively cheap for a red spell. It also has a low cooldown at 3 rounds, so you will almost guaranteed see it back when both of us are this high on hit points. And I mean, look at the amount of value I can get from this, right? It's already good now, and it's gonna be even better moving forward. So just gonna aim that at the high level Void Eye and that Raiden. And I didn't even have to pay that much for it. 250, I think, if you count the skip. And we still managed to range our arc lights in this case, buy another crawler, and we still have another deployment left. Probably just for a crawler here in the back. I do need to work on my chaff here. It is a little bit light, right? My opponent already has 6 packs of chaff plus 4 Mustangs with range, which also kind of work as chaff. So we need to work on that. But 5 deployments of chaff on round 4, I think, is the minimum. I'm pretty happy with that. Doxon picked the EMP. Not sure what that was for. I mean, maybe he was expecting a tech on the Farseer. Again, it is also a spell with a low cooldown, so he'll probably be able to use it 1, maybe even twice more. EMP doesn't do too much. It does get rid of the range on my arc light I just picked up, but the right side's crushing. There's no more Raiden, so my sledgehammers are also able to tank a lot more. And you can see here the arc lights are doing a very good job. So setup wise, I'm pretty happy. I got the range on my arc lights. We're getting some levels. I probably need at least 2 more arc lights though on the outsides, and I would like at least 2 more packs of crawlers because I will want to work towards that double defense enhancement and subterranean blitz. For now though, 4 rounds and we've managed to win every single one. So a very good early game, and that's exactly what you want to do against Mustang, right? Do not let them scale out of control. Don't give them room to breathe. And here, additional deployment slot shows up. Super supply enhancement for Doxon. Round 5 is still fine, especially if you think the game will go long. Round 4, I would say, is typically insta-pick, unless you're below 3k hit points. Round 5 is debatable. I do really like the additional deployment slot, so I decide not to go for it. And I mean, yeah, as I said, I want more arc lights, I want more crawlers, and this just allows me to get 4 deployments down and catch up on that chaff game that we've been ignoring to some extent or unable to do anything about. Yeah, look at that. Double crawlers in the corners and then arc lights. They're going to be slightly further back here. You will often see me do this in standard. I kind of play this dome shape, or at least the front arc lights are going to be further forward and the 2 on the sides are going to be slightly further back. Reason for that is that if they're on the tower height here, they can turn for the flank if something shows up. And then 2, typically the opponent will also be playing in this kind of dome shape. So the middle of their board will be there in the fight quicker. So these arc lights, right, are further forward to kind of meet them. Whereas this here is further back, so it will arrive later as well. I don't want my arc lights to arrive too early and somehow get taken down. It's essentially trying to match the board shape that we typically go for. But yeah, already here, arc lights level 3. I am ahead of the curve. I think if I didn't have smart arc lights, they maybe would have been level 2. This does help because it sets up for an eventual elite marksman. Opponent here has, by the way, gotten both attack and the defense enhancements. I haven't been able to do so, but at least we've caught up on deployments to some extent. Both Farseers are also level 2 now, so that adds to the tankiness, and it means that we should be able to take down this Raiden. Look at that. Doesn't even get off the shot, so again, 2 Farseers left alive, and we're chipping away at the hit points. They did take super supply enhancement, but they're down to 3k with us sitting at a comfortable 5. Round number 6. Oof, look at that. Efficient light manufacturing. I mean, it is a bit late, but with the additional deployment slot I just picked up, it is such a strong combination. It's kind of the high roll that you're looking for when you have efficient light. So I still pick it up, even though it's a bit late. I think it costs 350, so you have to get 7 deployments down to break even. But I can do that in 2 turns with the additional deployment slot. And have a look at this. So opponent already has some leveled Mustangs, there's 4 of them. Now decides to go for the Mountain on round number 6 with an intensive for a level and efficient maintenance to cut down on that upkeep. Very scary. 350,000 hit points. I highly doubt that I will have the damage to be able to deal with this. But yeah, I mean, it'll come as a bit of a surprise. Raiden's been sold to be able to afford this. Scary, scary prospect. And now I do decide to pick up some Mustang. Main reason for this is anytime you play arc lights, loose formation crawler can be a big problem later on. So I thought to myself, you know, with the additional deployment, with the efficient light manufacturing, getting my own Mustangs just makes sense. There's fangs in the front to shoot at, and it prevents him from going loose formation, which means that my arc lights should remain useful for the remainder of the game. So yeah, that is another thing that you can do if your opponent goes Mustang, right? You can eventually go Mustang yourself. It's more so also, again, for that loose formation threat, but it's completely viable to buy the same unit. But yeah, here we go. I think we're favored, for the most part, at least up against his small units. The only downside is I don't think we're going to be able to take down this mountain here. It doesn't have mountain armor or mountain plating, but it doesn't need to at this point. My arc light is stuck on it. Even though it's level 4, it will get one shot by the mountain. And it's 4 cannons. And yeah, I think this is going to be our first round loss. In fact, I know for certain this is going to be our first round loss. But at least our opponent has committed, right? They're not a giant spec. They did go for efficient maintenance. They did use that intensive. So we can be pretty certain that it's likely this will remain on the board. Other thing as well is we know that if they remove it, it's going to be hard for them to find something else to play. That is not, you know, as big and bulky and able to protect their units from my arc lights. Round number 7, Melting Point shows up. So that is what I wanted to go for. That's a nice thing about waiting as well. You will often be rewarded with an answer to your opponent's commitment. I would have been able to buy the melters either way, but it is kind of nice to get one at level 2. If I didn't get it here, I probably would have sold whatever the drop was and then purchased 2 melters myself. I will put one here right in front of this mountain, and then I will put one on the outside of the right tower because I thought that he might add a mountain over here. It actually seems like I have lined it up pretty nicely. Of course, we have to grab the range. Opponent goes for the same thing. And I'm okay going melter here because I saw that he wasn't running the enhanced range tech, the one that gives the mountain, I mean, I don't even know how much range it gives, but allows it to shoot across the map. If he did have that, then my response would have been different. So do keep that in mind here. I know that he only has range enhancement, which means he can only get up to 140 base, 155 with the temporary range. That means my melter is still outrange by 15 meters, and I think that is playable. If he had the long range tech, He would have outranged my melters by way too much, and I would have had to pivot into Abyss. Abyss can sometimes be a bit tricky with the AA available, as long as they haven't clicked the extended range, right? Because the extended range nerfs their attack by 70%, and at that stage, it's just not viable anymore for them to go anti-aircraft ammunition, because they will tickle the Abyss. So there's kind of two matchups, and how I like to play them. But yeah, we noticed this tech setup from our opponent, and so we're happy going Melter. Melter, Arclight, Mustang is ultra solid, classic composition, kind of helps you deal with anything, right? Whether it's flying, whether it's bulky, whether it's small. This setup allows you to deal with everything. Melter on the right side locks on, Melter in the middle also locks on. Looks like we will just win though by 2 Melters, and that's it. All of my other units did end up dying, but we managed to stay ahead, and we do stabilize after that 1 round surprise. And now round number 8. Lightning Storm shows up. Also, we have the Orbital Javelin yet again. And I do decide to pick it up. I think at this stage of the game, you simply have to pick spells like this. They are super useful at clearing chaff, clearing kind of mid-sized units, and it's virtually impossible to shield for the entire duration of it. Typically, the shields will break at some point, and then if you can hit a Mustang pack, if you can hit some crawlers, it's going to help you out a ton. Opponent has EMP available again, and it looks like he is just about going to hit my shields here. So that means they're going to be left with 5,000 hit points each, and the Storm will be able to break that by itself. So a little bit scary. We do have the Underground or the Subterranean Blitz on the Crawlers now. We do manage to grab Elite Marksman on our Arclights as well, and I'm kind of risking it here. I could have used another Melter on the left for sure, maybe another one here behind the Sledgehammers, but I decided to grab some Elite because I felt like it was worth it. I have a lot of levels. I want to stay away from his board as much as possible, right? We do outrange the mountains with our Arclights now. And yeah, I need to make sure I can keep chaff clearing, because otherwise my Melters will never connect. More Mustangs yet being picked up. We storm on the right side. We go for a Javelin here on this high-level Mustang pack. And let's see. I am slowly selling out of my Sledgehammers because at this stage, they're simply dying too quickly to the enemy forces, and I want to retrieve that money and use it more, well, in a more useful manner. Another mountain has shown up on the left, so yeah, the Melters will be having to travel over to the left side. Opponent is loaning, crucially, and didn't have the money to shield because they bought another mountain, I presume. So right side has been crippled significantly. Same thing for me with that EMP and Storm stacking. But we might be able to take this guy down. This is a level 2 Melter. I did mean to pick up that level. I think it's important. Not just for the tankiness, but also, of course, for the damage ramp on the Melter. It does double the maximum damage that it will deal. It basically will tick for 8,000 every 0.2 seconds when fully ramped at level 1. And that gets doubled, right? Because you add the level 1 stats whenever you level up. So it'll go up to 16,000 every 0.2 seconds. And it means that you will just kill these big targets a lot faster. Round number 9. Nothing really in this unit drop. Interestingly, the Fire Badgers do show up again, even though I had unlocked them. But I guess they are counted as free units at this point. Or we might have just unlocked and played too many different units. Tarantula is what I go for. It sells for a good amount, and I can sell it across 2 rounds. So I'm okay with that. And at this point, I mean, all I want is a range on my Arclights, 2 more Melters maybe, and EMP, I think, on my Melters as well. I do believe that's going to be important. Trying to, 1, get rid of the range on the mountains, and B, I mean, hit anything else potentially. Gonna go EMP on my Arclights, pick up a bunch more. Again, we do have efficient light manufacturing, so elite recruiting these Arclights en masse is actually pretty cheap. That leaves me with enough money to go for some techs. Here, though, not too happy with what I did. I think going Arclights was a bit wrong. Stalling the Melters yet again is definitely a risk. And now my opponent goes for triple Melter himself, actually making sure that he has more melters than I do. Also picks up the oil and the badges from the drop, sells one, keeps the other. And looks like he's not going to want to ignite the oil just yet. So he's going to try and play for 1 round slow and then a 2nd round ignite, I imagine. Not sure there's much I can do about that, but we'll have to see if there's going to be another round. Of course, temp range here, important. I have gone for the 2nd defense enhancement. Super, super important. Once more, against these Mustangs. Opponent has 1 Badger, but that's it, right? And again, chaff clearing with Mustangs is very hard into subterranean crawlers with multiple defense enhancements. And that's going to buy us tons of time. I don't really need other frontline here. I don't need sledgehammers or anything of the like. Just chaff, just crawlers should be enough. Managed to EMP a mountain, another one, the 3rd one too. We're locked on, we take them down, and now it's just down to these melters, which are also going to get EMP'd. So actually, I said I wasn't too happy, but looks like the Arclights are putting in the work here and kind of chipping away at the mountain by themselves. The melter will eventually help them out, but they did a good job of shaving off a sizable amount of hit points. And is that going to be enough? Not quite. Down to 485. We're going to have to take this to round 10. Round 10, enhancement module shows up. Tank production line as well. Enhancement module, kind of interesting, but I knew I wanted to sell this spider because it's, well, very useless. And enhancement module, if I play this correct, I feel like I could win. And this is more of an item that you would pick if you can guarantee that the game will go for multiple rounds and really greed. Opponent does pick it up. I mean, his intensive was back of cooldown, so he could potentially make a level 3 melter there if he wants to. I'm going to simply opt out. Or actually, never mind. I'm going to pick the tank production line because that's going to generate a lot of value. And I put it on the right side melter because I felt like it was the safest, right? It only has to face this level 1 mountain, potentially level 2, but it seemed like it was doing a good job of surviving, so that means we're going to get more value out of this tank production line. And now, finally, we pick up 3 more melters, which doesn't use the efficient light manufacturing, but that's okay. At this stage, I just need more damage. Opponent goes for AP on the Stangs. I think if you want to deal with crawlers, it's actually better to have high explosive. I haven't had the chance to test that myself because I usually am not relying on Mustangs alone. But yeah, I've heard from people that high explosive is better in that scenario as opposed to AP. Temp range, of course, has been picked. Temp speed as well. And you can see the oil will get ignited. I didn't really do anything about that because, I mean, what would I do? I would have to buy like hounds with something, maybe double missile. But look at how quickly that got set on fire. I was hoping that my crawlers would simply be able to run through because some of them are level 2 and they do have double defense enhancement and subterranean. But man, look at that damage from the fire. The ones that don't die seem to just be solo hit points that the Mustangs take them out immediately. So left side is pushing in a lot quicker than it otherwise would have. Still, Arclight doing a decent job of getting rid of all of the chaff. All of the Mustangs are now gone. Right side is winning because there was no fire over there. And this EMP Arclight is doing such a good job of stalling, preventing the tower from going down too quick. And now we're locked onto his melters. So maybe, just maybe, we can close this out on round 10 and not have to take it to 11, even though there was fire there. One melter gets absolutely blasted. Opponent did go for saturation bombardment there on the final round. I actually don't think saturation bombardment does anything. The tech is very neutral. It tends to just get the exact same outcome in games like this, where we do manage to win. If the board is very full and there's a lot of chaff for the mountains to shoot at, saturation bombardment doesn't significantly improve or make its capabilities worse. It basically stays even, which I guess is worse because you have to pay for the tech. If you can guarantee an insta-lock, let's say against a bigger unit like a factory, then saturation bombardment is better DPS, right? You do get more DPS from this, but it just doesn't seem to really add any value there. Keep in mind that was with fire, burning most of my crawlers on this side. And still, we were managing to hold off 2 level 2 mountains pretty well. Either way, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down below what you think of Mustangs. Have you had trouble with them, or were you aware of this? Is this what you always try to do? Let me know. If you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.